So the last chapter of the JoJoLands was pretty insane. A lot of big reveals with Araki essentially creating Enrico Howler and setting up this plan to use the new moon in the future. So I expected the chapter following it to ease up on the plot a little bit, but nope, Araki hits us with another huge plot reveal back to back. Although most of this chapter does focus on this current fight against Key West, and we get to see a whole lot more of her stand, which honestly is shaping up to be one of the better and unique stands in the part so far. So let's get into the breakdown, and this is the JoJoLands Chapter 29, titled Lulu-chan and Liam Shebane. Starting with the cover page, we see a bird's eye view of Howler's yacht being surrounded by all the government personnel, making our escape ever more difficult as this arc comes to a close. And turning the page, we see the stillness of the upper deck, with Howler's merry-go-round and jacuzzi giving off this liminal eeriness, knowing how explosive everything is just below this adult's playground. Getting below deck in the first scene, we pick things up with Charmy being crushed by these ID cards, an attack from Key West's ability to control the space within the gaps, and provides a pretty gruesome depiction of its strength, as we spend the first handful of pages seeing these cards dig into his body and have to be forcibly ripped off by smooth operators, and takes a bit of flesh along with it. So the pressure of these gaps are pretty deadly, but not inescapable. As long as you have a stand, of course, that can see it and grab onto it. So for a brief moment during this attack, Charmy did have to drop his disguise and use his fragmenting skin to repair himself, but was able to return to the Yokohama disguise just before the officials catch up to him. And when the officer touches his shoulder, we see the lava rock jump from Charmy's collar to the inside of this guy's sleeve, as Key West is trying to secure this rock as covertly as possible, subtly using the gaps in the environment to shimmy the lava rock around. And during this whole kerfuffle, we manage to make our way above deck. Meanwhile, we see Howler on some other part of the ship near his chapel, making an escape, and standing right next to him is Key West, face deep in her phone, already shopping for $25 million Ocean View properties with her girlfriend Liam. And right here, at this moment, I just knew these guys were cooked, and I can't even feel bad for him either. It's like, at least have the rock in your hand and maybe escape before celebrating. Just disrespectful to Howler here, spending his money before you even have it. They just got way too ahead of themselves here, and I thought it made him look a bit foolish. Although Key West does have a great deal of confidence in her ability, proclaiming if anyone tries to pursue her stand, they'll end up dead. Welcome back, Wonder Review. And here Key West says the name of her stand, West End Girl, a Pet Shop Boys song. So in the comments of last month's review, I asked you guys to try and predict her stand name, and lots of guesses, but unfortunately, no West End Girl, so still holding out that one of you guys can guess Howler's though. The chapter then switches scenes over to Iko with Liam and Lulu held up in the bunker, and they are awaiting their escape as Liam called him back up with the police and they're on their way, which could shake up the flow of the story with Ninbo dead upstairs. Assuming Paco didn't get rid of the body or anything, the cops will probably begin an investigation into Meryl, which could compromise the structure of their gang and their hideout. So while killing some time, Liam starts to tell a story about a teacher she once had, who would extort lunch money from her students, saying they didn't have enough and just trying to take extra money, describing it all as absurd, which relates to one of the themes of this part. Members of institutions with power that the public puts their trust into will often exploit that trust and take advantage of them. Sort of just a cycle of corruption as Liam and Key West use their positions of authority to engage in corruption with Howler. The conversation then shifts into more of an interrogation of Lulu as Liam gets more hostile and questions Lulu about her connection to Howler. And this is something that we've brought up in our discussions before, even going as back as early as chapter 17, as I always found it strange that for some reason Howler put all of his trust in Lulu, an emotionally erratic child more so than any member of his team. And at the start of this arc, he hired these new guys to bring Lulu back safely, so he feels some level of responsibility and care for her. And Lulu drops a bombshell here saying that it's because Howler is her father. Although she doesn't know for sure, but when her mom had abandoned her, it was Akka that started looking after her, which does seem out of character for him to just take in random girl, so I think she's on the right track here. And as if Howler wasn't already one of the most promising and interesting characters I've seen in all of JoJo, this just adds a whole other dynamic to him and the story at large. This new development also reminds me a bit of Trish Una and Diavolo, where the heroes had to look over the boss's daughter and she helped them along the way, eventually fighting against her dad. But also uniquely, Lulu is a very vulnerable person, going back to when she had asked Bobby Jean to adopt her and be her dad. She's clearly seeking the comfort of a family that Akka doesn't care too much to provide, as he's using her for his own gain, having her use her stand to look after his precious land deeds, and is just sort of sending her out to fight like a pawn. But she seems to be able to look past all of this and takes comfort knowing that she's useful to her father and is able to have some level of a connection to him, even if it's more like transactional and cold. Although I could be mistaken, and maybe Howler really does care for Lulu in his own selfish way, but it's just part of his character to be wildly irresponsible and make poor decisions, just be a bad guy. But he's really not a sadistically evil villain, as he cares enough to not want his daughter dead, unlike Diavolo. He did hire Bobby to protect her and sent out Liam and Ningbo to save her. But I think the future of their relationship is really all up to Lulu, as she's kind of put in a situation here where she can pick a side. Does she fight with the heroes against her father and help take down his empire of land corruption? Or does she let the emotions get the best of her and desperately hold on to that need for a father figure in her life and go to Howler even though he's imperfect and might not care about her a whole lot? But although, as we've seen, Lulu is not the most moral character. She could just be this evil little girl at the end of the day, so we might just have to deal with her and Howler at the end of it. But with that family connection here, we just have this whole world of possibilities opened up. And in the following pages, we finally see Lulu fight back against Liam, who stumbles backwards and shows symptoms of the bag screws attack, causing a pulmonary edema. And this was a very like, hoorah, go Lulu moment when reading the chapter. But I have to wonder here, exactly what was Lulu's motivation? Was she just sick and tired of having this gun thrown in her face, or was she protecting her father from Liam in Key West, who said she was working behind his back and trying to betray him? So the way it's left off leaves her decision up in the air. But in this turn of events, makes Lulu way more important than expected, as she could be in the part for the long haul, as either a friend or foe. And this scene ends with Lulu trying to get a hold of Liam's cell phone. The chapter then transitions back to the boat, where we get to see more of West End Girl's ability, as we are shrunken down into this armhole and see the smooth operators chasing after it, which gives us a very good look and just see how the stand operates more inside these gaps when we can't always see it. So before, I thought the stand was like a shadow that casted on the walls or in the inside of whatever it considered a gap, although this stand is very much a tangible object, at least as far as other stands are concerned. And it's like a liquid that moves along the surface, as we see the operators grabbing and pulling it as it warps around this guard's body, eventually hiding within the gap between his hat and head, and violently crushes his head in, just another showcase of this stand's strength. And in a clever way, it uses these attacks to create chaos and distractions as it moves around, so when the man is falling, another comes to check on him and it goes inside his visor, so it's just moving between these officers. And I really think this is a unique and cool stand that plays off this interesting mechanic. It's a very overpowered mechanic, but it does have this limitation of gaps that allows the stand to really work in any situation and get really creative with where it's able to hide, where it's able to attack from. So this is A+ on Araki on new creative stand. And in the final pages here, it just gets messy, with one guy shooting blindly hitting the other, Charmy has to tackle the last officer, so shit has thoroughly hit the fan, with Jodio and Dragona able to be easily identified at this crime scene, taking place on the billionaire Howler's yacht, which would be quite the news story. And as we've seen, Howler is already popular with the press, and there's cameras all over this boat. So Araki doesn't always do this, but having the main cast become wanted criminals could be where we are heading, especially with the police going over to Eco right now. Maybe we all go to jail in the second half of this part and it's Stone Ocean 2.0. And that brings us to the final page of the chapter, where Jodio suspects that this negative turn of events could be because they lost possession of the lava rock, as all the blind shooting was very Wonder of You-esque. So for the first time in a while, we are at a real disadvantage here, losing the rock and maybe even having it used against us, which would be double bad. If Key West or Howler does get possession of the lava rock and their will is to defeat the Gain, they probably will end up getting arrested. And that is where things leave off for now, with Key West and Howler approaching from under deck. And unfortunately, JoJoLands will be on hiatus next month, so no October chapter, but we'll be back in November for chapter 30. But until then, we of course have the Steel Ball Run event in just a few days now, so very excited to see what they have cooking. Hopefully a trailer, and I'll be able to get some videos out for you guys next week on all things Steel Ball Run news. Definitely a release date I think will be announced. So thank you all so much for watching. I please ask that you drop a like on the way out if you enjoyed, and I'll talk to you all real soon in my next video. Peace.